Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jared Rand, and welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for Wednesday, August 23, 2023, a little after 3:15 p.m. Eastern. We're having a time for change call tonight, a little after 9 p.m. Eastern. When we feel with our heart, mind, we pick up so much more. The ego mind is been compromised since the beginning. Even though they're both illusions, the mind is an illusion that creates the ego to assist it in the illusion. And when we get carried off into the ego mind, we view things, and we actually see things a lot differently and emotionally. That comes in on that. So we have like an emotional roller coaster, which gets us trapped in certain situations. Because I'll put it this way, we all have abilities that we have not even discovered yet as the gods we are in these bodies. And so, the ego mind is quick to negate things that we, just brush it off. It's nothing, and, you don't have that ability. It's just coincidence and that type of thing. But you can feel the pulse of the planet. You can feel the pulse of the universe. You can feel just about anything through the heart-mind. Ego mind is different. Ego mind is more material physical. It's more concerned about what you're going to have for dinner, or how much money can you get, or how much better you are than someone else. These are all ego mind constructs. The heart mind is is the gateway to the God. So when we view things, you can view it through the heart mind. When you feel things, you can feel it through the heart-mind because, like I said, it's a gateway to the God. So we, on this planet, at this time, all of us have ability to see through the heart-mind, to really know what is happening. Now, obviously, this practice isn't used hardly at all because really there may be a few hidden beings on the planet that have discovered that they are the God, and they operate from the heart-mind 24/7. And they're enlightened, which is really not a situation where you would believe. In most cases, people wouldn't believe it anyway. They say, yeah, right. Oh, sure. The roll of the eyes. But you can actually feel the condition of humanity. And it doesn't, there's not a lot of effort. It is literally focusing on the breath and moving into the now and listening to the breath and the space between heartbeats. And you're in a still, quiet position, and you're leaving the ego mind alone. So you're not participating in it. You're not grabbing thoughts that are other people's thoughts that you were programmed on. You're not engaging with any of it. You're not engaging with the mind. You're not engaging with anything out there. Because when you realize that we are all pure light energy, that's what we are. And the pure light energy, it's a whole different ball game because that's our true existence. See, we've gotten so caught up in the body, the ego mind, that we're totally lost when it comes to spirituality. A lot of people think spirituality is religion, and it isn't. Not at all. As the religions on this planet have all been created by man. They're kind of distractions so to speak. When we view the condition, she says we're all connected. And literally we're all one, but we all are different facets of the one. So doesn't it make sense that for you to know what actually is transpiring, you're going to know once you focus on that. It's not, see, ego mind will give you interpretations that are all wrong because of its high insecurity and lack of confidence and trust in itself. So you have the ability to be still, quiet, focus on the breath, and be in the now, and listen. Remember, you're a statue, and you feel the pulse of the planet, the civilization, all life, the highest supreme value in the universe is. And then you'll know. You don't need to hear it from anybody. You don't need some guru on a mountain to tell you the walk of life. You are the guru, the God that you are. You're the all-knowing, all-seeing of existence. And obviously this practice is not. Even the gurus, the Oshos, all of the different names that have come up, Khalil Gibran and Sri Maharishi, all of these different people have had insights. They were pursuing the God within, but they had not really come close to being the God within. Had they done this, there would have been a complete different day-to-day on planet Earth. A completely different existence on planet Earth. So very few of us venture down that road. A lot of the things is because it's an unknown, and many of us are so afraid of living in physical material worlds that we negate our true nature, which is joy, peace, bliss, prosperity, abundance, happiness, contentment, benevolence. That's our true nature. But people say, well, then why are so many of us caught up in the physical material world? Because we've been programmed. If you program a computer with certain programs, right, software, it's going to act according to those software programs. We have been given software programs. With everybody else's thoughts. That may sound strange to some people, and the ego mind might fight it, but it is a fact. We don't acknowledge it, we just go with it. It's just a flow. And you can create anything that you desire from your perspective on how you view things. What your interpretation is. You could have, a dozen people in a room, and you could ask them to look at something, right? A picture. And then you ask them all to give you their interpretation of that picture. And you'd be amazed. Okay? Now, the interesting thing is to take them into a soundproof room and ask them the question. So they would not be influenced by the others in the room. So you would show them the picture. You'd show everybody the picture, all in a group, and then you would take each one in a separate room and ask them what their interpretation is of that picture. Could be anything. Could be a picture of a landscape, a sun setting. It could be anything. And then to have them give you their interpretation of what they saw in that picture. So you can see the diversity. And you can also see the influence that the diversity plays on the civilization. So there's always something similar because we are of one. There's always something similar in everybody's interpretation of that picture being shown to them. And of course, it's different, right? There's a different flavor to us than what they're seeing, color-wise and everything else. But there's also an inherent connection with every person who looked at that picture and described it and what they were seeing or feeling with it. There's one inherent connection amongst everybody that will show up. Maybe it's that everybody noticed the orange part of the sunset, or everybody noticed how it gave them the feeling, what type of feeling it gave them. That there is a commonality is what I'm saying. And anything that any of us do, there's always a binding agent that connects us. Could be a belief system, could be just a knowing. But I'm sure that you've experienced at times where you said to yourself, I feel and I know that this is what's going to happen. Not ego mind. See, there's the trick. Because ego mind will try to convince you through its perspective. Heart mind doesn't convince you of anything. That's where you decide to reside. And see, heart mind is not greed. Yeah, it's not wanting. It's not getting. It's not having. It's the opposite. It basically doesn't care because it knows it has everything that it will ever, ever, ever desire or want. And when you focus on something, you don't obsess with it, you focus on it. And you look at the planet and your fellow brothers and sisters, so to speak, and you feel exactly what's transpiring. Now, you'd be surprised how many of us on this planet, subconsciously or even unconsciously, are choosing not to have this menagerie of activity on this planet anymore. What do I mean by a menagerie? There's so many different things throughout the ages that have taken place that have done everything they can to separate the civilization from its root existence of the God that it is. And this is a very prevalent ploy on different planets throughout existence, where you have a low frequency of beings convincing a higher frequency of beings to stay low frequency. Okay? Because what many of us don't know on this planet is that we're of high frequency. All of us are. And the ones that choose not to be of high frequency also believe that they're at high frequency. So the ones that want to destroy and destruct and abuse and on and on and on, they feel that they are operating from a high frequency. And that's because it's ego mind, totally ego mind based. Heart-mindedness is of a high frequency and continues to expand as you discover exactly what high frequency is. You ask some people and say, what do you believe high frequency is? It'd be interesting to hear their answers. What's the difference between intermittent high frequency and practicing high frequency 24/7? Right? And the frequency, high frequencies, this is what it means. You don't worry. You don't stress. You don't fear. Oh, you have a couple of things that intermittently come in from the ego mind, because none of us are totally clean of the ego mind yet. But it's and some people's interpretation is that you don't care. But something that's temporary, does it make any sense to really care when we have the opportunity to go within and discover the gods we are before we leave these bodies? That would seem to be like a number one priority. Because as I've stated so many times before, we leave these bodies, we're not going to know who and what we are. That's a fallacy. It's we're amnesia. We're amnesia as a god, and we're amnesia in the body. And we have a very short period of time currently on this planet to learn, to rediscover, quite frankly, to bring us back to the gods that we are and to know that we're the god in the body and we're not the body. And we know that the body will cease one day. And it's not something we pay a lot of attention to. We pay attention to the body and sustaining the body so it remains healthy and functioning as long as we're in it. Very rare occasion are you going to keep a body, right? It's like a car. Are you going to keep a car 100 years? Most likely not. Okay? Most likely not. So are you going to keep that body? How long? It's just up to you on how you can choose how long you're going to keep it, right? And so you focus more on the spirituality and the energy of the God within and discovering who and what you truly are, so that when you do leave the body, you'll decide when to leave the body. Okay? Not happenstance. You'll decide when to leave the body, and you'll consciously be aware of it. Right now, is it true that you have a choice? You could take care of your body, going by the guidelines of other people's thoughts, right? And you could take care of your body, and then all of a sudden the body ceases and you have to leave it. That's a big surprise, isn't it? That's happened to many. So my belief is that we should know when we're going to leave the body. The body should be able to be healthy, vibrant, and strong, and phenomenal to the day that you decide to leave it. We create the unknown to entertain ourselves, to keep us motivated to move forward and to increase our vibrational frequencies. We create the unknown. You know how boring it would be if we didn't have the unknown? That we knew everything? Conservatively speaking, that every day we knew exactly what was going to happen, when it was going to happen, all the time. Wow, wouldn't that be? We would intentionally start creating things that we didn't know were going to happen. You see, this is how the universe plays in with us, where it will create things based upon your thoughts that you aren't aware you're projecting, and then you're surprised when these events take place in the material physical world. Does it make any sense to any of us that we come into these bodies, we're lucky to stay to about 95. That's a rare exception. Okay, maybe 100, maybe 130, but that's minuscule. And then the body and the stage it's at that point is so rickety that you could blow on it and it'd fall over. But through the heart mind, you feel things, and you do feel them because you cannot. There's no other way, because you're so connected with all that there is. So you look at this planet and you feel things. You feel through the heart mind that you don't care to have certain things continually take place. You don't care to have fires that appear on different parts of the planet that destroy lives and harm people and cause fear and anxiety. Anything that is of a low frequency that happens to humanity, we all feel it. You remember when the buildings were blown up, the World Trade Center? Okay. And a lot of people thinking there were like 30, 40, 50,000 people in those buildings. There wasn't. There was maybe about 3,000. but still the same, the impact it had. Knowing that, a good size of people, 3,000 is not a small group, that 3,000 people left the body. We feel those things. You feel that shaking vibration frequency of low harmonics. Because, you just put it this way, do you think any of those gods were ready to leave the body? That they had just, okay, I'm going to leave the body? No. No. But they jumped out of windows rather than burned to death. They jumped out of windows that were hundreds of feet in the air. It's the same with world wars. Do you honestly believe that World War II and all it created has dissipated on this planet? No. Even though most who had experienced it have left the body. What about World War I? What about the nuclear holocaust of Nagasaki and Hiroshima? What about the great purge of enlightened beings during World War II? Was what really was going on. What about now, today? See, when you embrace through heart mind, not through heart minded, but through ego mind, you're going to embrace all those low frequencies. And they're going to suck you in. There really isn't, it's not a complicated thing. You focus on that, and it affects you. And it will pull you in. And you won't even realize that it's pulled you in. And so it lowers your harmonics. And you start believing things. But does it make any sense, no matter what is being perpetrated in the material physical world, the only thing that can make it powerful is you. Nobody else. You. Every one of us, depending on how we focus, what we're concentrating on, is what we create. So you could have a big plan of scaring the population of the planet out of their shorts, right? With a divot here, a divot there, a knock here, a dent there, to the point where they believe their attention is more focused on that particular thing. The end of life as we know it. Scary thought for people who are totally not aware of the gods that they are in the body. And to circumvent it from a place of peace. Not revenge. Because do they really know what they're doing? Really, truly. Are they really connected with the gods that they are? No. Completely blanked away. Completely separated, which is the illusion. To know one as God is to be God. So the interpretation that's been portrayed on this planet is that God is a revengeful God. Destructive. Going to murder millions of people. But that's the God of the low frequencies. That's their God. That's their interpretation. Low frequencies, the end of life. Life is the lowest value in the universes. And life is God. And we are God. So we look at that viewpoint. And we begin to understand, what choice do we make? Now, we all know that all of us, through the generations, no matter how many times we've incarnated in physical form, I think everybody on this planet does know one common denominator is that whatever you focus on, you're going to get or create. I pretty much believe that in some way, shape, or form, the majority of this populace does have a brief understanding of that. Not that they visit it, not that they research it, it's just a knowing. And it is imperative. And it is, when it is said to be mindful of your thoughts, it's not a joke. It's not a joke at all. You have to be mindful of your thoughts while in these bodies. Because then you can direct your thoughts. And your thoughts can be directed in higher and higher vibrational frequency and harmonics. See? And the ego mind will do everything it can to convince you otherwise. It's poo-pooed a lot of people's decision to go within, and it's given them such a hard time that they've just given up on going within and just follow the ego mind as their master. It's like everything on this planet, or anything in the universes, we created it. Who created money? We did. For what purpose? To experience the physical material world. To be challenged with all kinds of emotions. Who created the diseases? We did. I'm not saying you personally did. I'm saying collectively. And here's the question. Just to ponder. You have a baby, okay? Baby's very fragile and just frail. Babies are very, very, as we know, vulnerable. You have a complete stranger you don't know at all. Would you leave the baby with that complete stranger for any length of period of time? Would you leave your own government in the hands of complete strangers for any length of time? Would you leave people alone in your home that you've never met or ever seen before? Yeah, it's a trust factor. Sure it is. And it's also risky. But in the moment, would you do that? Now, it wouldn't be a judgment against them. It would actually be that you prefer to take care of that baby yourself. Your responsibility, not theirs. All of the conjurings of, the baby being cut and bled out and blood drank and all this horrible things that have been perpetrated through lower dark energy frequencies. That also believe that that's all good. What are bodies for anywhere, right? That's how they believe. There are a lot of things that we will be highly motivated in a way to embrace, which means the God within. More and more people. What's happening on this planet is unprecedented. I don't believe that many people understand that. Or they superficially maybe but anything else, no. But it is unprecedented, and it becomes very confusing, and it becomes very perplexing because of the fact that it's almost like the skit that Abbott and Costello were famous for during the radio days when they were talking about who's on first. Okay. Well, who's on second? Who's on third? Who's at home? And, it got very confusing for the people listening. It's like, are we a country or aren't we a country? Are we a people or aren't we a people? Who's on first? Who's at home? Who hit the home run? How many bases did we have? Are we a free people or aren't we? But see, all those things are determined by us. They aren't determined by anybody else. They are determined by us. No matter how many times we want to review it, how many times the ego mind starts to pull in there, we decide. Do you decide to be in bondage for eternity? Or you decide to be in peace, tranquility, happiness, joy, and bliss for eternity? It's interesting questions that we should all be asking ourselves, because it's what influences the outcome of any planetary liberation. I don't believe that this civilization will be handled any longer. I really don't. I also believe that there's not a lot of people that are in the mode, which is also low frequency, of waiting and continually waiting for something. They don't know what precisely, but they know they're waiting for something. There will no longer be waiting. All there will be is interaction and knowledge and gain of knowledge and learning and understanding. Because I'll tell you what, you could literally go out, any of us could go out with a portable mic, right, and a recorder, and we could go out and ask people certain questions about America, about its current status, about the monetary system, about the political system, and you would be probably blown away at their answers, because many don't have the knowledge to give you a correct answer, or, whether it's correct or not, a solid answer. Most of the people are not young people. Some are. There are some young people that have it going on, that know that the way of their ancestors is no longer the way for them. And as many times as I say it, I will not ever get tired of it. This is about you. This whole thing, everything happening is about you. Because if we don't choose to learn, that we love ourselves deeply and dearly, intimately, that we're gentle, kind, generous, and humble with ourselves at all times, that we're in the highest of the highest high, deepest of the deepest, deepest, eternal gratitude at all times. You can be in the middle of a fit and shift it immediately by shifting it right over to what you're grateful for. Your car could be demolished in seconds, right? And yet you're standing there looking at it, and instead of getting upset and fearful on what you're going to do, you immediately say, I am deeply grateful that I was not in that car. It's a proven fact, when you look at things and you take things softly, caringly, without fighting them, without agitating them, your feeling of euphoria is clear and present. Your worry, stress, and fear isn't there. Wouldn't it make sense that we begin to understand and by the millions start embracing this? Not because everybody else is doing it, not because of the herd mentality, but because they want to. Hook, line, and sinker. No turning back. That they're motivated, they want to, and they will. Whenever I've spoken about New Earth, I think some of it kind of just goes over the heads of people. But New Earth is about being in the now. It isn't about worry, stress, fear, anger, anxiety, revenge, manipulation, dishonesty. It isn't about any of that. That's old Earth. Those are low frequencies. But in New Earth, you're talking about very high frequencies. No more murder, death, kill. And yeah, it'll take probably about a decade for that to finally sink in to many of us, where we practice it on a daily basis. But New Earth is the highest supreme value in the universe is life. That's its foundation. The low frequency is do no harm, so we would not do any harm to ourselves, the environment, the ecosystem, to others, period. There will be no lack of. There'll be no pain unless you enjoy pain. And then the big question is that what about greed and money? There won't be any. And there are those that they wouldn't know what to do if they didn't have all of that to entertain themselves with. Pain, suffering, murder, death, kill, all of those low frequencies. Well, how do you know they're low frequencies? Because God is life, and when you destroy any form of life, you're in lower dark field energy. When you view eliminating any life, you're in lower dark field energy. And that is a karmic debt I would not ever like to visit. But believe it or not, there is a universal law of karmic, which is built up debt. Now you might have good karma, bad karma. We all have good karma, we all have bad karma. Different lifetimes accumulated that one day we will, on our own volition, choose when that time will come when we must empty that debt. Whatever it is we accumulated. You will not be fully functional until you have embraced yourself in deep eternal love. Which means that anything that you carry with you accumulated throughout the incarnations that you've experienced, whether you remember them or not, has been surrendered, has been let go of. Any revenge, any hatefulness you may have toward your parents, former relationships, situations, will have been surrendered, letting go of those. See, that's a tall timber quest for one to take on. But that's what it's going to take for every one of us to move into enlightenment. And people can talk about enlightenment all they want, but none of us have achieved it for even an hour would be an absolute dynamic miracle. And the reason is that the nice thing is that we're halfway there because we've already acknowledged the fact that we know the difference between the physical material world and a little bit about what's the inside world, the God world, the spiritual world. The difference between the two in impact is if you compare a feather with an iron anvil. That's the extreme difference between the two. The anvil we build up through this life and through other lifetimes, where it sits square on our necks and shoulders, and we carry it with us through each lifetime. And this accumulation of nothing but illusions that we made real and experienced in the material physical world. And what's your choice? Would you prefer to be like a feather with no weight, nothing pressuring you and holding you down so that you flow freely, or the anvil? That's pretty distinct visualization that anybody can make. Everybody just about knows what an anvil is, and everybody just about knows what a feather is. And in the quiet time of this meditation, how do you want to be? How do you want to be? What direction are you going to take? You could end all conflict, all propaganda, in a matter of minutes on this planet if you put your mind to it. You put the heart-mind to it. And you communicate through the God that you are. And the interesting thing is that also, you go on forever. You really do. People say, well, eventually you go back to the head, the one. Doesn't matter. You still go on forever. You never die. You don't die because you're pure energy. Well, how can you destroy energy? You can't destroy energy. You can displace it, but you can't destroy it. Everything's energy. What about interstellar galactic weapons? They're all energy, placed against other energy. The purest form of energy in all existence and beyond is us, the gods that we are. That we're made of the material that creates universes. Okay? That created this planet. It's created everything and will continue to do so forever. I'll join you in the meditation, and I'll return to close this out. Take an easy and slow breath in through the nose. And an easy and slow breath out from the mouth. Remain still. At the center of this swirling and whirling life is your greatest possible experience. Dive directly into your core, and you'll discover a silent, blissful energy lives there. Lose yourself to this center. Your whole being will start moving in sensual unison with the cosmos. Your job to ride this wild galaxy into the beyond. Take this with you for the rest of the day, into the evening and night and the following morning. We will return here tonight around 9 p.m. Eastern to continue our Time for Change call. And Thursday, August 24, 2023, 3:15 p.m. Eastern, to continue our Global Guided Meditation call. Be gentle, kind, generous, and humble with yourself at all times. Be in the highest of the highest high, deepest of the deepest, deepest eternal gratitude at all times, no matter what's going on around you or within you.